How's everybody doing today? I know you're business leaders. You're the future pastors and ministers. Raise your hand if it's ministry that you want to go into. We got them over here. Man, it's all sorts of things. You are the future leaders of our cities, states, country, our churches, our businesses, our organizations, whether it's teaching a class at a school. You right here are the future leaders. But what if I was to tell you that your leadership didn't start when you got your dream job? All right, everybody in here has a dream job. You're thinking of something that you would love to be doing 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. It would be amazing. But what if your leadership didn't start then? What if your leadership is starting right now while attending Randall University? What if your leadership was being forged in the fires of how you're handling life right now in the midst of biology exams, in the midst of big papers to fill out? What if how you were handling life right now was going to determine the type of leader that you would ultimately be? You see, every single person in here, every single person, whether you're extroverted or introverted, every single person in here is some level of leader, all right? So what I mean by that is every single person in here has some level of influence over somebody else. Right? Maybe it's the person next to you. Maybe it's a younger sibling. Maybe it's somebody back at your home church that kind of pays attention. Right? And so what I mean is that every single person in here has somebody who's listening to you. All right? You are influencing their life. Therefore, you are some level of leader. And if all of us are some level of leader, it probably stands to reason, as followers of Christ, it probably stands to reason that we should probably try to become the leader that God is calling us to be. Whether we're going to go into ministry, whether we're going to go into teaching, business, whatever it might be, to look at the type of leader that God is calling us to be. Because every single one of us in here, we have some preconceived notions of what a good leader is, right? Well, when you think leader, maybe you think a really charismatic person, right? You think of somebody that's super organized, that they got their stuff together, they are somebody that is worth following. Maybe they can champion a cause, gather a bunch of people. Like that's what we think about when we think about a leader, right? Probably a little more extroverted. It's what we tend to think about. But what I want to address today is a reality that underneath all of this, like all this stuff looks good. They can speak from a stage. They can speak to a small group. They just look the part. And maybe that's you today. Maybe you look the part. But underneath this, no matter the field that you're going in, it doesn't matter if it's not ministry, doesn't matter if it's not business, every single one of us underneath this is a trait that is vitally important. A trait that can catapult your leadership into being more than you could even fathom, and a trait that could absolutely destroy your leadership before it even gets started. This trait is integrity. Everybody say integrity. Integrity, and you guys know what integrity is, right? Integrity is sticking to this moral, ethical code we find in Scripture, right? We hold to our faith as what integrity is. Our moral and our ethical compass, our code, might look different than the person we work with. It might look different than the buddies back in high school, right? But we hold to a moral and ethical code found in Scripture because integrity is absolutely crucial for you to becoming the leader that God is calling you to be. All right, if you forget everything that I say, and I know you will, all right, that's just part of being a pastor. The audience forgets. I'm fine with it. But if you remember anything, it's this idea. Your integrity will enable you to become the leader God is calling you to be. I know this idea of integrity is probably nothing new to you. You know this is important, but I just want to keep pounding it because this is for me, this is for your professors, this is for every single one of us. We need constant reminders that our integrity is crucial. Your integrity will enable you to become the leader God has called you to be. I want to draw your attention to Proverbs 11:3. Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. See, my guess is you coming to Randall University, and you came for many different reasons. My guess is, though, that none of us came to have our credibility as a leader ruined before it even gets started. My guess is that you came to Randall University because you want to be set up to succeed. Right? And that might look different for you than it does you and you and you. It might look different, but every single one of us that is in this room, we're here today, we're paying all this money, we're doing all this homework because we want to be set up to succeed. But when we forsake our integrity, it can come crumbling down even before it gets started. So today, I am convinced that the topic of integrity is crucial to the college student. Absolutely crucial to the college student. We're going to talk about that because the reality is it's tough to guard our integrity. It's difficult. Like, how do we do this? How do we guard our integrity when pornography is an instant away on our phone? Like, how do we guard our integrity when it's so easy to cheat on that homework? Right? How do we guard our integrity? That doesn't even seem like a big deal to us, right? How do we guard our integrity when no one knows what you do when you go back home on the weekends? They don't know. So how do we guard that integrity when temptation is constant? All right, really quick this morning, I want to look to the scriptures, and I want to look to a passage found in 2 Samuel that most of you, if not all of you, are going to be very, very familiar with. All right, the story of David and Bathsheba. Raise your hand if you know that story, David and Bathsheba, right? All right, so we got David, King David. He's the king of the land, and he has an affair with Bathsheba, right? Really boneheaded move that really just causes things to crumble. But is what we're going to do. We're going to look at this, and my guess is you've had bosses, you've had different leaders in your life that you like what they do, and so you kind of learn from them, or you like how they handle things, and it's like man, I kind of want to be that way when I get a little older. But my guess is that many of you have had the opposite. You've had bosses, you've had different people in your life with like, man, I can't stand how they handle things. See, we can learn as leaders. To be a good leader is to be constantly learning, all right? To be learning from those that are doing well and learning from those that aren't. Learning what not to do can be just as valuable as learning what to do. And so we're going to look to this story of King David, and we're going to see some things of what he didn't do to guard his integrity, because I'm convinced if we do these 4 things, it can drastically change the course of your life and the course of your leadership, can drastically change whether or not you get that dream job down the road. All right, so we're going to go through 4 things. All right, number one is think through the small decisions. Everybody say small decisions. Think through the small decisions. See, this is King David. He is a king. He's got some big decisions to make, right, of whether or not to invade, what to do, how to lead a nation, right? He's got some big decisions. And every single person in here, you have made some big decisions in your life. Big decisions. I mean, decisions of whether or not to attend Randall University, right? Maybe a decision of what to study, what career path to take. Maybe you've made some tough decisions of whether or not to break up with this person or whether to date this person. You've made some really big decisions in your life, just like King David. But King David also had some small decisions that really just absolutely changed the course of his life. And I'm convinced that this group right here, myself included, we must think through the small decisions because they have a huge impact on who we ultimately become. This is a huge, huge thing. 2 Samuel chapter 11 says, in the spring at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. But David remained in Jerusalem. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. Let's see, where am I? The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, isn't that Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite? All right, so right here, David is getting ready to commit adultery. He's getting ready to make one of those really big, bad decisions. But look at the text, all right? Understand that he's only set up to make this really big, bad decision because he made some really boneheaded, small decisions. Never underestimate the power of the small decisions you make every single day. All right, some of the bad decisions he made might be some of the bad decisions we're making. All right, number one is he wasn't where he was supposed to be, right? I mean, in verse 1, right, when the kings go off to war, he sends Joab. Right, when King David should have been off to war, he sends somebody else. All right, he wasn't where he was supposed to be. And I wonder today if that's us, right? In this little small decision, are we where we're supposed to be in any given time, right? Or are we hanging out in the right circles? Are we doing the right things? Are we alone when we shouldn't be alone? It's tempting. Are we with somebody when we know we shouldn't be with that crew? We know they're causing us to go in a direction we don't want to go, all right? We know they're an influence and causing us to do things that we know isn't right. Like we don't need anybody to tell us. We know. Right? But we often find ourselves in the wrong place. This seems like a small decision that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I hang out with them on a Friday night. It doesn't matter what I'm doing on a Tuesday night. It doesn't matter, all right? It's just one day. But small decisions can snowball. Small decisions can get bigger and bigger, all right? So just think through right now, where are you? All right, where are you hanging out? Where are you spending your time? Never underestimate the power of being in the wrong place. Being in the wrong place can absolutely ruin your credibility. It can put you in tempting situations. These are small decisions. This isn't like big, like to commit adultery or not. But this little decision set him up for failure. All right, so that's one small decision. Another small decision that I'm sure no one here can relate to, but this understanding of laziness. All right, raise your hand if you know somebody in this room that is lazy. All right, you know somebody, it's not you, I understand, but somebody else in this room that is lazy, right? And this was David, right? Because the scripture says something that we just blow right past, right? One evening, David got up from his bed. Did you catch that? In the evening, he's waking up. In other words, like he's been asleep. Right? He is being lazy. His nights and days are all mixed up, and he is not fulfilling the mission of being a great king. He's being lazy. And as a pastor, as a boss, let me tell you that man, I want people that are the opposite of lazy. I want hardworking people, right? We don't want people that are lazy in life. Now, I understand they're like, it's rainy today. You need to go hang out. You need to go take a nap. I get it. I wish I could, right? I understand that. But understand that laziness can cripple us because laziness can cause us and can breed a level of unsatisfaction. Right? We're not wired to be lazy. So when we're lazy, we're breeding this grounds of unsatisfaction. I don't know if your mom's ever told you, like my mom told me, of idle hands or the devil's playground, right? So when we're not doing anything and we're just kind of vegging out and just kind of being a zombie watching Netflix, being a zombie playing video games, napping all the time, just being lazy, understand this is when we start to fill our time with things that we know we shouldn't. Small decision. Right? Being lazy or being hardworking. It's a small decision. It's not like to commit adultery or not. But when we are looking as young people that want to be future leaders and leaders right now of integrity, think through the small decisions. All right, number two is address the sin before it snowballs. Address the sin before it snowballs. Verse 4, then David sent messengers to get her. All right, so he sees her. He sends messengers to get her. She came to him and slept with her. He slept with her. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David saying, I am pregnant, all right? So things just got real, all right? Like we've committed adultery now, and now Bathsheba is pregnant. And I want you to get something. If this story ends right here, if he just cuts off his losses and he confesses and ends this story right here, it's a mess, right? It's still a mess. He's got somebody else's wife pregnant. Right? It's a bad scene. Lots of tough conversations. My guess is you've had your fair share of tough conversations. Like if we stop this story right here, it's still a mess, but it stops the bleeding. Because when we don't address the sin, it snowballs. It gets worse and it gets worse. All right, what once started as lust now goes to adultery. Right? But it didn't stop there. It could have stopped there. He had a point to stop it there, but he doesn't. And now it goes from adultery to lying, right? If you know the story, you can read it there in 2 Samuel. You know the story where he's now like kind of in panic mode of trying to figure out how do I cover my tracks? I got this lady pregnant. I got an idea. Go get her husband out of the military, out from battle, and have him go sleep with her. This is foolproof. All right, how can this not work? Then he's going to think that baby is his. This is perfect, right? And so it goes from lust to adultery, and now we're deception. We're deceiving people. All right? But Uriah is a man of integrity, right? Exactly what we're pushing for. Uriah is a man of integrity, and he doesn't feel that this is right. So he comes home, but he knows his buddies are out to battle, and he knows that other people aren't getting to do this. So he sleeps out on his front porch. He doesn't even go in to sleep with his wife, right? He doesn't do that. And so now, man, when we don't address sin, it just snowballs and snowballs. And so now, what started as little bitty decisions, right, just laziness, being in the wrong place, now snowballed into lust, now snowballs into adultery, then into deception, and then we got to figure this out. This is going to get bad. I got to murder Uriah. We went from small decisions to murder like that. Because when we don't address our sin, it snowballs. Right? I'm sure you guys have heard of the apologetics professor, Rabbi Zachariah. Sin will take you farther than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, and cost you more than you want to pay. I'm convinced that right here in this room, there are a whole bunch of people that have some serious sin and serious decisions that we've made that we need to stop the bleeding. Now, it's easy just to pretend like I'm not going to deal with this. It's going to go away. That's what kind of David was hoping for, that this would just go away, all right? But it didn't. It snowballed, got bigger and bigger. Like this porn problem is just going to go away, all right? Like when I get married, then I'm not going to have a problem with pornography. You are fooling yourself, right? It just snowballs. Right? It just gets bigger and bigger, and now the consequences get even stronger. Right? It is a crucial thing that we understand that sin snowballs. And so now it's just this little harmless addiction, whatever that addiction might be for you, can now absolutely bring catastrophe into your future marriage and cause you to lose the person that you love more than anything in the world. This little habit of lying, right? Like, I'm just going to cheat on this little homework. Teacher's not going to know. It's not that big of a deal. Like, this isn't even my major. It doesn't matter, right? But sin has a way of snowballing. And so now we're in the habit of cutting corners, right? And so it seems small right now when you're a freshman, sophomore, junior in college. It seems small cutting these little corners, but it has a way of snowballing. And so now we're cutting corners in our dream job, and now we lose our dream job because that's not allowed. Sin has a way of snowballing. So whatever you're struggling with, if you want to be a leader of integrity in the future and a leader of integrity right now, address this sin before it snowballs, because it's going to cost you. Right? There are major consequences to unaddressed sin. All right, we'll get more into that here in a second. Number 3, all right, the third thing, we can look to David's example, and we can see how can we be leaders of integrity. All right, so number 1 is think through the small decisions. Number 2 is address the sin before it snowballs. And number 3, I believe is, I didn't believe this was a big deal when I was your age, but it is a crucial thing in life. I wish I would have thought it was a big deal then. Have somebody who can tell you like it is. Have somebody in your corner that can point out your blind spots. They can point out when you're just being an idiot and doing things that you know, like it's not even a big deal to you, but things that you shouldn't do. All right, so not only think through the small decisions, not only understand that we need to address the sin before it snowballs, but have somebody in your life that can tell you like it is. Every single person in here, whether you're going into ministry, whether you're going to own your own business someday, you're going to be the best teacher that's ever lived. No matter what you're going into, you need somebody pouring into your life. You need somebody pointing out your blind spots. And we see this with David. Let's see, where am I? I'm lost today. Man, it's one of those days. Why did you despise the word of the Lord? This is Nathan talking. All right, Nathan is a prophet and somebody that really just invests in David's life. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing what is evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now, therefore, the sword will never depart from your house because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own. Then David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. Nathan replied, the Lord has taken away your sin. You are not going to die. See, David finally had somebody telling him like it is. Right now, understand the baby's already been born, so at least 9 months of just flying blind here. 9 months of just, it's not a big deal. My sin's not a big deal. It had no consequences. It's fine, right? He's dead now. Everything's good, right? It wasn't until somebody else pointed out this blind spot in his life that he kind of like had a light bulb go off. See, I am convinced that every single person in here truly does need somebody investing in you. See, if you're going into ministry, those of you going into ministry, or if you're going into any field that might be kind of, well, maybe it's philanthropy, or maybe it's serving other people, you're going to find something out, and it's not going to take very long. You're going to find out that ministry in particular is a very giving profession, right? And you're fine with that. That's no big deal, right? But understand that 99.99% of your relationships are giving relationships. People want you. They want your help. They want your guidance, right? And very few have people that are investing in them. And I'm going to tell you, I've been the lead pastor at Oak Hills Church for right at 2 years. And within the first month of being the pastor, I knew this was going to be an issue. Within the first month of like I just felt like I was on an island. I felt like man, I don't have anybody like guiding me. And I realized that man, for years, people have been on stages telling me, you need a mentor, right? You need somebody investing in you. And for years, I saw it on stage and I was like, nah, that's for other people. I'm fine, I'm good, right? Until I wasn't, until maybe life got a little more overwhelming. And so I am convinced, we see this in David. We see that he needed somebody else to point out his blind spots. So do we, right? I have a mentor that I meet with on a monthly basis, and this has been the most valuable relationship that I can fathom. Way more valuable than I ever would have thought it would be to have somebody outside of my world, all right? Doesn't go to my church, not even within the denomination. Like this is an outside person. They're a pastor that is investing in me very intentionally. It is a relationship where it's 100% giving, but it's my way, all right? He's giving towards me, and it has absolutely changed things to showcase different blind spots that I have. See, if you want to be the leader God is calling you to be, understand you have blind spots. Understand if David can lose it all, so can you, so can I. Like none of us in here, myself included, we're not immune from rock bottom. We're not immune from making terrible decisions. All right, and so we might just need somebody outside. Maybe it's a pastor. Maybe it's somebody on campus. Maybe it's the pastor of your church back home. I don't know who it is. Right? If you don't have anybody, if you're like drawing blanks, like I don't know who can be that person, like come see me afterwards, and we can maybe I can be that person for you, or maybe I can help direct you into a relationship that somebody can be giving towards you. I believe this is a crucial thing. And so right here, it's think through the small decisions, address the sin before it snowballs, all right? Have somebody who can tell you like it is. And the fourth and final thing is absolutely crucial. When you fail, and you will fail, run towards God. When you fail, run towards God. See, our tendency is, even if we're leading and we're doing things and maybe we're leading on campus or maybe things are just going well, we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. So when you do fail, and you will fail, run towards God. See, our tendency is to run away from God. Our tendency is to move away and just maybe pretend like things didn't happen. But we see with King David the power of when we fail, running towards God. All right, so right here, he's already had somebody point out his blind spots. All right, every single person in here, you have blind spots you need somebody else pointing out. All right, you need them to inform you. He'd already had this, and now at this point, he is absolutely running towards God after this failure. All right, I want to draw your attention to Psalm 51, 1 through 4. This is a psalm that he writes in response to the prophet Nathan coming and talking to him. He says, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love. According to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash away all my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgression, and my sin is always before me. Against you only have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight, so that you are proved right when you speak and justified when you judge." My guess is probably 100% of us. 100% of us have made decisions already that have jeopardized our future leadership. Like if people knew what we really did, then our future leadership would be in jeopardy. All right, my guess is we've made some small decisions that were really bad, and my guess is we've made some really big decisions that were really bad. Maybe we crossed lines that we swore we were never going to cross. Maybe we're involved in things that, man, it just seems like yesterday we would have thought this was absolutely nothing we would ever do, yet here we find ourselves. Right? We have this way, and when we struggle with this, we tend to move and get further from God, but I am convinced that right here at Randall University, there are people that need to run to God. We're involved in things we shouldn't be involved in. We're doing things we shouldn't do. And we must address the sin before it snowballs. We must have someone that tells us like it is. And we must run to God when we fail. So some of us need to confess things. Right? We need to confess our sin. We need to repent and turn from our sin and change our behaviors. Maybe for some of us, maybe it's a very real addiction. And maybe we're really having some serious struggles. And maybe it's just one good decision at a time. Right? Like today, make the right decision. And it's just one day at a time making the right decision. See, I'm convinced that you are the leaders of tomorrow, but I'm also convinced you're the leaders of today. right? Like right here, you have influence. And one of these days, you're going to get your dream job. One of these days, you're going to work your way up the corporate ladder or have the leadership profession and maybe the title that you don't have right now. But understand, having that title is great, but the ability to succeed in that is being forged right now in life. Not just in your classes, but in your integrity. We must guard our integrity. All right, so think through the small decisions. Address the sin before it snowballs. These are important things. All right, have somebody that's in your corner. And when you fail, run to God. Remember these 4 things because they can be game changers for you.